Okay, what's up? So, I want to make this video about so I was having a conversation with my daughter yesterday, and it I don't know why I was just randomly thinking about that shit, right? And I was randomly thinking about the fact that the main information I was trying to get to her is that to not make excuses, and that um people tend to make excuses and of why they couldn't do something, or excuses of why they're not where they are or whatever. And then it kind of sparked the status that I wrote yesterday. And then, I was just kind of explaining how you can have your dream girl, your dream life, your dream job, your dream career. It's just the only issue is you are in the way of your own dreams. It's you. It's your beliefs. It's what you think about yourself. It's what you think that you can do. It's what you think you can't do. It's you. It's what you say. People say it's their past. It's the fact that they didn't have a good childhood. It's the fact that they didn't have enough money, or they didn't have enough of this or that. But excuses. It doesn't matter if you went to school, college. None of that matters. It's all excuses. Because what really matters is, what are you doing? And and I don't know. So I was just randomly thinking, right, that the problem is that humans don't want to hear it. Humans don't want to hear um, that. Okay, so as soon as I mentioned to my daughter, hey, that sounds like an excuse, she's like, immediately the ego gets in the way and is like, yeah, but you make excuses too, don't you? And blah 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 blah, making assumptions, because the ego tries to defend itself. It tries to defend the bad behavior that it is continuously doing, that's causing you to make the excuse of why you don't have what you have, or have what you want. But like, realistically, is you can have the dream girl if you stop making excuses why you can't talk to her, or why you can't ask her, or why you can't go up to her. Gain some confidence, gain some balls, bro. Like, the same thing with your dream job. People say they hate their job all the time, and they're like, oh, I hate my job, but I gotta go to work. You don't have to go to work. That's some bullshit excuse you tell yourself because you think that's the only option. Reality is, it's you in the way of you again. It's that you think that the job is the only option. So that's not, but it's not anyone else's fault but your fault that you think that way, because there's hundreds of thousands of millions of other people that do not think that way, that know you can start a business, you can go mow people's lawns for $20, you can uh, there's a lot of things you can do to make some extra money. How many kids, we tell kids all the time to start a lemonade stand. But shit, take your old ass and go start a lemonade stand. Whatever you need to do to make some extra money, there are other options. There are other things you can do other than something that makes you miserable. But we always tend to make an excuse for our misery, but don't want to make an excuse for our success. So, like, for me, I tend to make because I try to explain to my daughter that I don't make excuses, and what I meant is I don't make excuses in the same aspect that she makes excuses. Like, she's blaming, how kids will blame their parents. It's not laundry day, or I couldn't do this because the mom was sleeping, or I couldn't do this because of that or this. No, it's really you chose, and you made options, and you chose not to do something when you could have did it. But with me, I make excuses for my success. Like, meaning, I can't do shit. I can't hang out with friends because I got work to do. I got shit to do. I got dreams to build. I got a website that I have to build. I have to work on getting my LLC. I have to work on trying to figure out how to invest my money. I got to work on learning cryptocurrency. I got to work on learning all this other shit. And like, they're both excuses technically, but I would say making an excuse for your dreams, making an excuse for success, is a good thing. Meaning, like, it turns from being an excuse to a sacrifice. Because when you're making an excuse, you're making an excuse of why you couldn't do something, but you're not getting anything out of it. You're not getting any benefits from it. You just make an excuse of why you couldn't do it, and then you're like, oh, I can't do it, so I just couldn't do it. It's just the way I am. Excuses. It's the way you are, but it's not the way you have to be tomorrow. That's the excuse. It's the cop out. But with the thing with success, it's like you end up making excuses of why you can't hang out with friends, why you can't go party on the weekends. It's the Gary Vee thing that Gary talks about, how he sacrificed his 20s, his whole entire 20s, to work at his dad's liquor store and all that whole shit, right? It's that. His friends probably looked at him like, bro, fucking excuses, man. You always working. You're always doing something. You're like, you can't ever just come hang out with us. But reality is, like, it's better to make an excuse for your future than an excuse to stay in the bullshit past. So if you're making excuses because you're working for your building your future and not working at a job that you hate, that's not what I mean by working. Like, because if you're working at a job that you hate, you're not building anything for yourself. You're not building happiness. You might think you're building money and security, but really you're building security mixed with worry and anxiety. Because, why do you feel anxious? Why do people feel anxious and depressed, and why are people not feeling exhilarated and happy and ecstatic and whole? It's because they're making excuses of why they can't do the things that make them feel whole, why they can't do the things that make them feel complete. Because the thing that's going to make you feel complete is not going to be the easy cop-out excuse that you're used to. Everyone's used to making excuses. You can blame the fact that your dad wasn't in your life, that's why you're a shitty person, but no, you're a shitty person because you're still choosing to be a shitty person. Has nothing, as soon as you are a grown human being that is out of your parents' house, what they did to you is no longer their response. It's not their fault anymore. It's your fault because you're not under their roof. They're not in your life. You can choose what things you watch on TV, what things you watch on YouTube, what videos you consume. You can stop watching dumb shit. You can stop listening to rap music. You can stop, and in a sense, I'm kind of joking with the stop listening to rap music, but in a sense, I'm really not. Because if you're not strong-minded enough to not have that shit be a part of you, if a rapper's talking about, boom, shoot a motherfucker up, boom, boom, then you might be easily manipulated to get into that same mindset that they're in. And this is the thing with the excuses, right? People are always around people that make excuses, but never around people who are working or being successful or trying to go towards goals and work towards those goals. And you fail and you fail and you fail again, but you keep getting back up because you're trying to get closer to, you're getting closer to where you want to be. And instead of making an excuse, because the excuses usually come from the fact that you don't want to fail. Right? You don't want to try so hard at something and then fail at it, and then everyone's looking at you and pointing and laughing and saying, "Ha, look at you. You tried to get your dream, but you failed. Ha ha, look at you. I told you were going to fail." And that's the problem of people who are not in that life. They don't understand. They truly don't. So basically, there's two forms of excuses, and a lot of times people will go for excuses of why they can't do something because that's what they're around. That's what they've always been around. Their parents probably made excuses. Their brothers and sisters probably made excuses. Because think about it. How many parents make excuses of, "Oh, I couldn't get the dream I wanted because I had children." Excuses. I couldn't get the how many parents have said, I was gonna do this until I had you, or I could have been this, or I could have been that, and they still could have been that. They chose not to do that. Those are excuses. How many parents out there have made it successful? If there's at least one of them, then you can be the second one. There's no excuse. It's just a matter of, are you willing to do? That's really the only thing. Is, are you willing to do what it takes to actually get to the place you want to be? Because either you're going to stay where you are and continuously make excuses of why you are the way you are and why you're where you are, or you will eventually do something about it. My problem let me talk about me for a second. My problem is I procrastinate like a motherfucker. So like, it's not that I don't necessarily make excuses. I just tend to wait to the last fucking minute to do everything. And that's just an excuse that because I'm so used to doing things, that I like to do first and then doing things I don't like to do second. The things I don't like to do second tend to be the last minute things. And this is a cycle that I'm caught into that I'm working on getting out of. But it's a little different than making excuses, because it just goes back to sometimes when people say I procrastinate, or somebody says, hey, you should get this done because it needs to get done, my ego gets in the way and it's like, nah, I'll worry about that. If I got this, I'll worry about that when I need to. But it would be much simpler for my consciousness to just worry about it first, get it done and over with, and then I have all the free time in the world to just free flow, think, and do the things that I enjoy. But the ego gets in the way of the things we don't want to hear. Our ego, and it goes back to I'm in the way of myself and you're in the way of yourself. And if you want to be the greatest version of yourself, the best version of you, then your ego is going to need to move the fuck out the way for a second. And you have to figure out how to do that. You have to be willing to fight your own ego. You have to be willing to fight that voice that's thinking to yourself, what the fuck does this person know? Because usually when people are trying to give you advice, and if it makes you mad and you don't want to hear it, usually it's so real that your ego had to kick in the way because you don't want to hear it. But as soon as you hear that information they're trying to tell you, is as soon as your life changes. As soon as your life begins to go in towards the way you want it to go. Because you think I wanted to hear that I was a bum? That I don't know, I started my business, I lost my apartment, I ended up living with my mom, things were going bad, I was spending my money irresponsibly, I was doing all this, doing all that, and I had a friend that told me this. So, because, I had a friend that told me this, and he basically told me, he didn't necessarily say I'm a bum in that aspect of things, but in the whole conversation, it came up that, you're kind of a bum, you're kind of living like a bum. You had an apartment and then you let that go and now you're living with your mom. Now what are you going to do? And then my mom was going to kick me out, and then it was like, now what am I going to do? And then, it was just one of those situations where I'm realizing, okay, I could have been further, faster if I just listened sooner. If I listened to the people that tried giving me advice sooner, I would have been farther, much faster, in a much better place than I am right now. Regardless, it doesn't fucking matter because I'm getting there. I'm building my life to where I want it to be. I'm moving forward in a beautiful fucking way. I don't know how to explain it besides life seems to be manifesting in the way I want it to go. I have the dream girl. I'm getting the dream life. I'm getting the this and that, and then it's all because I stopped making excuses for myself. I stopped saying that it was my dad's fault for not teaching me how to be a man. I stopped saying that it was the mother of my child's fault for the reason why I don't have my son. I stopped saying that it was whatever, when no, everything is my fault. Everything. And we all got to stop making excuses and accept responsibility for our life. You're blaming someone else for your life. Your fucking life. And it's like, you can't blame anyone for your life, your mind, your this, your that. Because it's not your parents' fault that they don't know reality. It's not your dad's fault or your mom's fault that they don't understand quantum physics or quantum mechanics. So if that's something you want to learn, that is your fucking responsibility to learn that. To go out and figure it out. Your mom might live in the projects. That's probably maybe where you grew up. And maybe you want to live in a fucking mansion. You think it's your mommy and daddy's responsibility to get you a mansion if they end up getting rich? No. You got to get the fucking mansion your goddamn self. You got to work. You got to plan. You got to think. You got to try to walk in the steps of your future self. And try to imagine what the future you would do, how the future you would think. You know, I try to imagine, I've said this in videos before, but I try to imagine what the, 40-year-old version of myself would say. What's so funny is in videos, I used to say when I was like 22, 23, I used to say in videos, I try to imagine what the 30-year-old version of myself would say. Now I say 40-year-old version because I'm almost like, in 2.5 years, I'll be 30. So like, I'm starting to understand, well, I am a different person than I was when I was 22. And I would have been here at 22 if I listened to what people were telling me. And if I took the advice and if I wasn't so struck on thinking I know and I don't know. And it was just some weird shit. Being young is weird because you think you're there, but you're really not there. But yeah, I don't know. I was just sitting here thinking this because, like, as I was talking to my daughter yesterday, and it made me think she thinks she's there, because, she has me as a dad, so I've always talked to her and philosophized with her and whatever. So she kind of thinks she's already there when it's like, yo, bro, you ain't nowhere near there because just because you have a parent that's close to there, or even if your parents are successful, rich, or whatever, that does not mean you're rich and successful or whatever. Just because your parents are geniuses or smart or whatever, that doesn't mean that you're a genius or that you're smart, because you have to work for it on your own. Like, my mom didn't teach me what I know. I learned all this shit on my own. Everything I know today, I learned on my own. In front of a computer, doing research instead of watching Netflix and Hulu. Doing research instead of watching TV and cable. Doing research instead of going out to party and going to bars and whatever. I'm learning. I'm trying, I'm exploring, I'm gaining information and trying out that information. And if it fails, I try new information and I keep trying until it works. And I don't know, this is just who I am, right? And I've only become this way because I've been able to learn to love failure. I love to be wrong. So many people are so strung up on trying to be right. I don't give a fuck if I'm right or not. All I give a fuck about is being closer to the right information. So if you have the right information, I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to say, fuck what I know, bro. You seem to have it better together than I do. But that's what I do. When it comes to business, I listen to the people who are real businessmen. I don't fucking listen to them. Don't take business advice from me. I'll never get business advice. I don't give a fuck if I'm a billionaire from me starting a business or something. I'll never give business advice. I'll tell you to go to the people that I learned from. Because I don't know anything. Just because business worked for me, that don't mean it's going to work for you, because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But Gary Vee does. Tom Bilyeu does. There are people on the internet that teach business that might be able to teach you something about business, because these are the people I learned from. But you have to have the humility and the ability to be able to know that you don't know what the fuck you're talking about and be happy about that. Why are people so embarrassed to look stupid or so embarrassed to not know or so embarrassed to be wrong? You need to be happy about that shit. Because if you're in front of somebody who does know, then be happy that they can teach you. If I was ever in front of Gary Vee, I'm just happy that I have the internet. That I can learn from people on the internet, and I don't even need to know these people. They don't know me, but I know them. And I know I've learned from them, and I've learned a lot. And it's all because I put my ego down for a second to say I'm the student that's learning from the teacher. So I need to shut the fuck up and learn. Right now I'm working on learning cryptocurrency. I need to shut the fuck up and learn. But yeah, that's my video.